I won't take the contract. The room went completely silent. Ethan Cole had never said those words before. For 12 years, the name Ethan Cole had been enough to make powerful people lower their voices and double-check their security. He was the assassin who never questioned an assignment, never negotiated a price, and never walked away from a mission. Until tonight. A thick folder rested on the polished conference table in front of him. The name on its cover was Noah Bennett. Ethan stared at it for several seconds, his expression impossible to read. Across the table, Victor Hale, the man who had arranged countless contracts through the city's private network, leaned forward. You understand what you're refusing? Ethan closed the folder. Perfectly. Then why? Ethan stood. He adjusted the sleeve of his black jacket and looked toward the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Chicago. Thousands of lights shimmered beneath the October night, but his attention remained fixed on a single thought. Noah Bennett. Somewhere in that city, a man who had never met him was living an ordinary evening, unaware that his name had just changed everything. Ethan had studied the file before coming to the meeting. Noah was 28, an Omega, and worked as an archivist at a small private museum on the north side. No criminal record. No known enemies. No powerful family. Nothing about him suggested why someone would pay an extraordinary amount of money to have him removed from their path. Yet the file had one instruction that bothered Ethan more than anything else. Noah was not to be contacted before the mission. Ethan knew that rule was unusual. He also knew that unusual rules usually meant someone was hiding something. There are other assassins, Victor said. Someone else can accept it. Ethan turned back. Then hire someone else. Victor's face hardened. You've refused 3 assignments this month. And you have never refused 3. Ethan said nothing. For the first time, Victor seemed less angry than concerned. Who is Noah Bennett to you? The question hung between them. Ethan's eyes narrowed. He isn't anyone. But the answer sounded wrong, even to him. Because 3 weeks earlier, Ethan had seen Noah's name in a completely different file. It had been buried beneath dozens of classified reports, almost erased from the record. There had been no photograph, no explanation, only 4 words written across the final page. Keep him alive at all costs. Ethan had ignored it then. Tonight, he could no longer ignore it. He picked up his coat and walked toward the door. Where are you going? Victor called. Ethan stopped without turning around. To find Noah Bennett. Outside, the city continued as if nothing had changed. Traffic moved beneath the streetlights. People hurried home. Somewhere among them, Noah Bennett was about to discover that the most dangerous man in Chicago had made a decision no one could understand. Ethan Cole had rejected every mission, except protecting him. By the time Ethan reached the north side, the rain had turned the streets of Chicago into ribbons of reflected gold and white. He parked 2 blocks from the museum and remained inside his car, watching the entrance through the windshield. Noah Bennett had left work at 6:23 every evening for the past 11 days. He walked to the same coffee shop, ordered the same tea, and took the same train home. Routine was supposed to make a person predictable, but Ethan had learned something important from the file. Noah had recently started changing his route without realizing it. On Monday, he took a different train. On Tuesday, he stayed late at the museum. On Wednesday, he stopped at a bookstore he had never visited before. Small changes, almost meaningless, unless someone else had noticed them too. Ethan stepped out into the cool October air and crossed the street. Through the museum windows, he saw Noah still working inside. He was standing beneath a warm reading lamp, carefully arranging a collection of old letters into protective sleeves. He looked nothing like the dangerous mystery buried inside Ethan's files. Noah had dark brown hair, pale skin, and a quiet expression that made him seem more comfortable around books than people. He wore a navy sweater and a simple silver watch. Nothing about him suggested wealth, power, or secrets. Ethan watched for another moment. Then Noah suddenly looked toward the window. Ethan moved away from the glass before Noah could see him. A few minutes later, the museum doors opened. Noah stepped outside carrying a canvas messenger bag. He checked his phone, frowned, and started walking north. Ethan followed from a distance. He did not approach. Not yet. He wanted to understand the pattern first. Noah passed the coffee shop, crossed an intersection, and stopped beside a newspaper stand. His phone rang. He answered. Hello. He listened quietly. His expression changed. Who is this? There was no answer that Ethan could hear. Noah ended the call and looked around. For the first time, Ethan saw genuine uncertainty in his eyes. Noah put his phone away and continued walking. Ethan followed. 3 blocks later, Noah entered a small grocery store. Ethan waited outside. When Noah came out carrying a paper bag, he paused at the sidewalk. His gaze moved slowly across the street. Ethan remained hidden near a parked delivery truck. Noah stared directly toward him for a second, then looked away. Ethan felt something unusual. Noah was not simply unaware. He was beginning to notice that something was wrong. Ethan crossed the street. Noah Bennett. Noah stopped. His shoulders stiffened. Yes. Ethan kept several feet between them. My name is Ethan Cole. Noah studied him carefully. Do I know you? No. Ethan glanced toward the intersection. But someone knows you. Noah's expression tightened. What does that mean? Ethan looked at the paper bag in Noah's hand, then back at him. It means you should not walk home alone tonight. Noah gave a nervous laugh. That is a strange thing to tell a stranger. Ethan's voice remained calm. I know. He paused. But I am not the stranger you need to worry about. Noah looked past him toward the darkening street. The rain had started again, softer now, almost silent against the pavement. For several seconds, neither man spoke. Then Noah asked the question Ethan had been expecting. Who are you really? Ethan looked at him and realized that this was the moment everything would begin to change. Someone who has decided you are worth protecting. Noah did not move. Worth protecting, he repeated, as if the words belonged to a conversation happening somewhere else. Ethan gave a small nod. You should come with me. That sounds like something a kidnapper would say. Ethan almost smiled. Fair point. The unexpected answer caught Noah off guard. For a man who looked so serious, Ethan had a surprisingly dry way of speaking. Still, Noah kept his distance. Why should I trust you? You should not. Ethan's answer came immediately. Not yet. Noah studied him. There was something strange about Ethan. He did not seem nervous, impatient, or interested in convincing Noah. He simply stood there, calm and alert, as though he had already accepted whatever choice Noah made. Then why are you here? Noah asked. Ethan glanced toward the street. Because someone has been watching you. Noah's expression changed. For how long? Long enough that I am concerned. Who? I do not know yet. That answer made Noah even more uneasy. He looked down at his phone. The unknown call from earlier was still in his recent calls. Is that why I have been getting strange calls? Ethan nodded. Probably. Noah looked back at him. Probably. I prefer certainty. I do not have it yet. A gust of cold wind moved through the street, carrying the scent of rain and fallen leaves. Noah tightened his grip on the paper bag. Suppose I believe you. What happens next? You stay somewhere secure tonight. And tomorrow? Ethan paused. We find out why someone is interested in you. Noah gave him a skeptical look. You make that sound simple. It will not be. They began walking toward Ethan's car. Noah remained several steps behind, still unsure whether he was making the right decision. When they reached the corner, Ethan stopped. Wait here. Noah frowned. Why? Ethan looked across the street. A black sedan was parked near the curb. Its engine was off, and its windows were dark. Ethan watched it for several seconds. Then he turned back to Noah. I want to check something. Noah's voice became quieter. Is that the car? I do not know. Ethan walked a few steps toward the vehicle, then stopped when the sedan slowly pulled away. It disappeared around the corner without anyone getting out. Noah exhaled. You see? Maybe I am imagining things. Ethan looked at him. Maybe. He returned to Noah. But I do not believe in coincidences. Noah was silent. Then he asked, What kind of person are you, Ethan? The question seemed to reach somewhere deeper than the others. Ethan looked toward the city skyline. Someone who has made a lot of mistakes. Noah waited. And now? Ethan finally met his eyes. Now I am trying not to make another one. They reached the car. Ethan opened the passenger door, but Noah did not get inside immediately. You said someone hired you. Yes. To find me. Yes. Then why did you refuse? Ethan looked at him for a long moment. Because when I saw your name, I realized I had seen it before. Noah's face went still. Where? Ethan did not answer. Not yet. There was too much he still needed to understand. He closed the car door gently after Noah sat down, then walked around to the driver's side. As the car pulled into the Chicago traffic, Noah watched the city pass through the rain-streaked window. Neither man spoke for several minutes. Then Noah noticed something on the dashboard. It was a photograph, turned face down. He reached toward it, then stopped. Ethan noticed. Do not. Noah withdrew his hand. Why? Ethan's eyes remained on the road. Because I am not ready to explain what is in that picture. Noah stared at him. For the first time, Ethan's calm expression revealed something close to uncertainty. And Noah understood one thing clearly. Whatever connected them had started long before tonight. The photograph remained on Ethan's dashboard, face down and untouched. Noah kept glancing at it as the car moved through downtown Chicago, but he respected Ethan's warning. For several minutes, the only sound was the steady rhythm of rain against the windshield. Finally, Noah spoke. You said you had seen my name before. Ethan nodded. In a restricted file. What kind of file? The kind that does not exist officially. Noah looked at him. That is not reassuring. It was not meant to be. Ethan turned onto a quieter street lined with old brick buildings. The file was created years ago. Your name appeared in it, but almost everything connected to you had been removed. Removed by whom? I do not know. Noah folded his arms. You keep saying that. Because it is the truth. Ethan's voice remained calm, but something in his expression had changed. He was no longer simply watching the road. He was thinking through possibilities, connecting pieces that did not seem to fit. Noah looked through the window. I have always lived in Chicago. I know. I grew up in Evanston. My parents still live there. Ethan glanced at him briefly. Your father worked in finance. Noah frowned. How do you know that? It was in the file. And my mother? Ethan paused. She worked at a university. Noah stared at him. You really did your homework. I needed to. For a contract you refused? Ethan did not answer. The silence itself was an answer. A few minutes later, Ethan stopped outside a quiet apartment building in Lincoln Park. Noah looked up at it. You live here? No, then whose place is this? Someone I trust. Noah hesitated before following him inside. The apartment was modest but carefully maintained, with warm lighting, a small kitchen, and a living room overlooking the street. Ethan locked the door and checked his phone. Nothing. Noah placed his bag on the table. How long do I have to stay here? Until we understand what is happening. And if I refuse? Ethan looked at him. Then I will still make sure you get home safely. Noah studied his face. You really mean that? Yes. The answer was simple. No dramatic promise. No attempt to impress him. Just certainty. Noah walked toward the window. From the fourth floor, Chicago looked peaceful. Cars moved below, their headlights sliding through the rain. I do not feel like someone important, Noah said quietly. Ethan stood several feet behind him. You may not be. Noah turned. Then why would anyone care about me? Ethan had no answer. Not one he could give yet. Before he could speak, Noah's phone rang again. The same unknown number. Noah looked at the screen. Ethan immediately noticed the change in his expression. Do not answer. Noah looked at him. Why? Because. They called you twice tonight. Maybe they want to explain. Ethan shook his head. Then let them leave a message. The phone stopped ringing. A moment later, a message appeared. Noah opened it. There was only one sentence. Ask Ethan why he was watching you 3 years ago. Noah slowly raised his eyes. Ethan went completely still. For the first time since they had met, he looked genuinely caught off guard. Noah's voice was barely above a whisper. 3 years ago? Ethan looked toward the rain-covered window. The photograph on his dashboard suddenly mattered more than ever. I was hoping you would never have to ask me that. For several seconds, Noah simply stared at Ethan. The message remained open on his phone, its single sentence changing the atmosphere of the room. You were watching me 3 years ago. Ethan finally looked at him. Yes. Noah expected an explanation, but Ethan did not offer one. Why? Noah asked. Ethan walked to the kitchen counter and placed both hands against it. Because someone asked me to keep an eye on you. Who? I never learned their real identity. Noah's expression tightened. And you accepted? At first. What changed? Ethan looked toward the rain-covered window. I discovered that the person who hired me was not telling me the truth. Noah slowly lowered his phone. What did you discover? Ethan reached into his jacket and removed a small envelope. He placed it on the table. Noah did not touch it. That is the file I should have destroyed 3 years ago. Noah looked at him. Then why did you keep it? Ethan's answer came quietly. Because I could not convince myself that you were safe. Noah opened the envelope. Inside were several printed pages, a photograph, and a handwritten note. The photograph showed Noah standing outside a university library 3 years earlier. He looked younger, carrying a backpack and a stack of books. Noah stared at the image. Who took this? I did. He looked up sharply. You were there? Across the street. Noah studied the photograph again. I do not remember seeing you. You were not supposed to. There was something unsettling about hearing that. Yet Ethan's tone held no pride in it. He sounded almost regretful. Noah picked up the handwritten note. For words were written across the page. Keep him away from the foundation. What foundation? Noah asked. Ethan shook his head. I do not know. Noah looked through the remaining pages. Most of them contained names, dates, and references to organizations he had never heard of. Then he found something familiar. His father's name. Daniel Bennett. Noah's breathing slowed. Why is my father here? Ethan came closer, but stopped before reaching the table. That is the part one never understood. Noah read the line beneath his father's name. Former consultant. He looked at Ethan. Consultant for what? A private research foundation. Noah frowned. My father never told me about this. Maybe he wanted to protect you. From what? Ethan did not answer. Noah turned another page. There was a date from 3 years earlier, followed by a note about an upcoming meeting. Then another name appeared. Victor Hale. Noah looked up immediately. The man from tonight. Ethan nodded. Yes. So he knew about me 3 years ago? Apparently. Noah placed the papers on the table. And you were assigned to watch me. Yes. But tonight you refused to take the contract. Yes. Noah's voice became quieter. Why now? Ethan looked directly at him. Because 3 years ago, I was watching you because someone ordered me to. Tonight, I am here because I chose to be. Noah held his gaze. The distinction was small in words, but enormous in meaning. Before either of them could continue, Ethan's phone vibrated. He checked the screen. A new message had arrived from an unknown number. There were only 3 words. They know everything. Ethan looked at Noah. The quiet certainty in his expression disappeared. We have to leave. Noah stood. Where? Ethan picked up the file. Somewhere they cannot find us. The rain had stopped by the time Ethan and Noah stepped outside, but the streets of Chicago remained slick beneath the streetlights. Ethan moved quickly without rushing, keeping Noah close enough to hear him without drawing attention. Where are we going? Noah asked. A place I used before. Safe. Safer than here. They reached Ethan's car and got inside. Before starting the engine, Ethan checked the mirrors and the empty street behind them. Nothing seemed unusual. Still, he waited another few seconds. Noah watched him. You always do that. Always. You never relax? Ethan considered the question. Not when someone is trying to find me. He started the car. They drove north for several minutes before Ethan turned toward a quiet neighborhood. Noah looked down at the folder resting on his lap. There is something I do not understand. What? If Victor knew about me 3 years ago, why wait until tonight? Ethan's hands tightened slightly around the steering wheel. That is what worries me. Maybe the contract is not really about me. Ethan looked at him briefly. Explain. Noah tapped the folder. My father worked for that foundation. Victor knew my father. You were assigned to watch me. Maybe they are looking for something connected to him. Ethan remained silent. Noah noticed. You thought the same thing. Yes. Then why did you not say it? Because I wanted to be certain. Noah gave a small sigh. You really do not like giving people answers. Only when I do not have them. A few minutes later, Ethan pulled into the parking lot of an older apartment building. They entered through a side door and climbed 3 flights of stairs. At the end of the hallway, Ethan unlocked a small apartment. It was simple, quiet, and almost completely empty. Noah stepped inside. You keep a lot of places like this? A few. For emergencies? For uncertainty. Noah looked around. That sounds like your entire life. Ethan did not disagree. He placed the folder on a table and opened it again. We need to understand what your father was working on. Noah sat across from him. I can call my father. Ethan shook his head. Not yet. Why? If Victor has been watching your family, a sudden call could reveal where you are. Noah understood. He leaned back and thought for a moment. There is someone else. Ethan looked up. Who? My father's old assistant. Her name is Rebecca Morgan. She worked with him for years. Ethan reached for his phone. Where is she now? Boston, I think. Ethan paused. That could help. Noah looked at the papers again. There is one more thing. What? 3 years ago, after I graduated, my father asked me to forget about a particular research project. Ethan's attention sharpened. What project? I do not know. He never told me the name. But you remember something. Noah nodded slowly. He said that if anyone ever asked me about it, I should tell them I knew nothing. Ethan stared at him. Did anyone ever ask? Noah hesitated. Once. Who? A man I met outside the museum. Ethan became completely still. When? About 2 months ago. What did he ask? Noah looked down. He asked whether I still had my father's old notebook. Ethan's expression changed. Do you? Noah slowly opened his messenger bag. He reached beneath several books and pulled out a worn black notebook. I never knew why my father gave it to me. Ethan stared at it. The mystery had just become much bigger. Then Noah opened the cover. A folded piece of paper slipped onto the table. Ethan picked it up. On it was a name they both recognized. Victor Hale. Underneath, it was a date. 3 years earlier. And beside the date were 2 words that made Ethan's expression go cold with realization. Ethan Cole. The name on the paper was impossible to ignore. Ethan Cole. Noah looked from the note to Ethan, waiting for an explanation. Ethan did not speak immediately. He read the date again, then turned the paper over as if another answer might be written on the back. Nothing. 3 years ago, Noah said quietly. That is when you were watching me. Ethan nodded. Yes. Noah's eyes narrowed. So this was not a coincidence. No. Ethan picked up the notebook and examined its worn cover. Your father knew my name. Apparently. And Victor knew both of us. Noah stood and walked toward the window. Then why did Victor hire you? Ethan looked at the notebook. Maybe he wanted me close to you. Noah turned around. But you said the contract tonight was to find me. That was the assignment. What if finding me was never the real purpose? Ethan went silent. Noah returned to the table. What if they wanted you to lead them to the notebook? The possibility changed everything. Ethan opened the notebook carefully. Most of the pages contained ordinary notes about dates, meetings, and research references. Nothing immediately explained why so many people seemed interested in it. Then Ethan found a page with several names. Daniel Bennett, Rebecca Morgan, Victor Hale, and beneath them, Ethan Cole. Noah stared at the page. Why would my father write your name? Ethan's expression became distant. I do not know. Noah pointed to a sentence beneath the names. Read that. Ethan looked down. The sentence was written in Daniel's handwriting. If Ethan ever comes back, tell him the truth before Victor does. Ethan stopped reading. Noah watched him carefully. What truth? Ethan closed the notebook. I do not know. You really do not. No, Noah studied him for a long moment. Then why do you look like you do? Ethan finally sat down. Because 3 years ago, I received a private assignment. I was told to watch you, learn your routine, and report anything unusual. I accepted because I believed you were connected to a financial investigation. And were you? No. Then what did you discover? Ethan looked at the notebook. Your father was trying to protect someone. Who? I never found out. Noah slowly sat across from him. Maybe it was you. Ethan looked up. Before he could respond, his phone vibrated. He checked the screen. The message contained only an address in Boston and one sentence. Rebecca Morgan is waiting. Noah leaned forward. That is my father's assistant. Ethan nodded. And the address? A private library near Beacon Hill. Noah looked at the clock. How soon can we get there? Ethan stood. The first flight leaves in the morning. Noah shook his head. We cannot wait until morning. Ethan considered him. You are right. He reached for his jacket. We leave tonight. Noah grabbed the notebook and followed him toward the door. Then Ethan stopped. One thing. Noah looked at him. What? Ethan's expression was serious. From this moment on, do not tell anyone where we are going. Noah nodded. I understand. Ethan opened the door. They stepped into the quiet hallway, unaware that someone else had already seen the message sent to Ethan. Across the city, Victor Hale placed his phone on a desk and looked at an old photograph from 3 years earlier. It showed Daniel Bennett standing beside a younger Ethan Cole. Victor quietly said, so they finally found the connection. The airport was quieter than Noah expected. It was nearly midnight when Ethan parked near the terminal, and the steady hum of airplanes seemed strangely peaceful after everything that had happened. Noah carried the black notebook inside his messenger bag, keeping one hand on the strap as though it contained something far more valuable than old research notes. Ethan walked beside him, alert but calm. How long have you known Rebecca Morgan? He asked. I have never met her, Noah said. My father talked about her sometimes. What did he say? That she remembered everything. Ethan looked at him. That could be useful. Noah gave him a tired smile. You make everything sound like an investigation. Right now it is. They reached the security area, and Ethan checked the departure board. Their flight to Boston was scheduled for 12:45. They still had time. Noah sat near the window while Ethan remained standing, watching the terminal without appearing to watch anyone. After several minutes, Noah spoke. "Can I ask you something?" "Yes." "When you watched me 3 years ago, did you ever speak to my father?" Ethan was quiet for a moment. "Once." Noah looked up. "What happened?" "He knew who I was." "How?" "He called me by name." Noah frowned. "You had never met him?" "Not before that night." Ethan sat beside him. "Your father told me something I did not understand at the time." "What?" Ethan looked toward the runway. He said, "When the time comes, Noah will need someone who knows how to disappear." Noah stared at him. "And you thought he meant you?" "I thought he meant someone like me." "Maybe he did." Ethan looked at Noah. "Maybe." Their boarding announcement sounded overhead. They stood and joined the line. The flight passed quietly. By the time they landed in Boston, dawn was beginning to brighten the horizon. They took a taxi toward Beacon Hill, where Rebecca's address led them to an old private library tucked between historic brick buildings. Ethan knocked once. No answer. He knocked again. A woman's voice came from inside. "Who is it?" Noah stepped forward. "My name is Noah Bennett. My father was Daniel Bennett." Silence followed. Then the door opened. Rebecca Morgan was in her late 60s, with silver hair and a thoughtful expression. The moment she saw Noah, her face changed. "You have his eyes," she whispered. Noah swallowed. "You knew my father?" Rebecca nodded. "For 22 years. Her gaze moved to Ethan. She froze. "And you?" Ethan remained still. "You know me." Rebecca stepped back from the doorway. "Come inside." Quickly. Once the door closed, she led them into a quiet reading room filled with shelves and old wooden tables. Rebecca looked at the notebook in Noah's hands. "Your father told me you might bring that someday." Noah's eyes widened. "He expected this?" "He hoped you would never need to." Ethan asked, "What was Daniel working on?" Rebecca looked at both men. He was investigating a private organization that had been using legitimate foundations to hide financial records and confidential research. Noah stared at her. "Victor Hale?" Rebecca nodded slowly. "Victor was involved." Ethan's expression hardened with recognition. "And me?" Rebecca looked directly at him. "You were never supposed to be part of it." Ethan said nothing. Rebecca continued. 3 years ago, Daniel discovered that someone had hired you to watch Noah. He realized the person behind the assignment was using you without telling you the full truth." Noah looked at Ethan. Rebecca's voice softened. "Your father believed Ethan could eventually become the one person Victor could not control." Ethan stared at her. "Why would he trust me?" Rebecca gave a faint, knowing smile. "Because Daniel believed that even the most loyal person can change when given a reason." Noah looked at Ethan. For the first time, the pieces of the past were beginning to fit together. But Rebecca was not finished. She opened a drawer and removed another file. "There is one more thing your father wanted you to know." Rebecca placed the file on the table, but did not open it immediately. Noah watched her carefully. "What did my father want me to know?" Rebecca looked at him with a sadness that made the room feel quieter. "He wanted you to understand that you were never the problem." Noah frowned. "Then what was?" Rebecca opened the file. Inside were several documents, including a letter written in Daniel Bennett's handwriting. Noah recognized it instantly. His hands trembled slightly as he unfolded the page. "Noah, if you are reading this, then things did not happen the way I hoped. I need you to trust the people who helped keep you safe, even if you do not understand why they were there." Noah stopped reading and looked at Ethan. Rebecca continued. "Your father knew that Victor Hale was watching his work. He also knew that Ethan had been placed near you without being given the full story." Ethan lowered his eyes. "Daniel found out?" "Yes," Rebecca said. And instead of turning Ethan away, he decided to give him a choice. Noah looked confused. "What choice?" Rebecca pointed to the final page. It contained a short message. "Protect Noah when the time comes, not because someone orders you to, but because you choose to." Ethan stared at the words for several seconds. "He knew," Ethan said quietly. "He knew I would eventually find this." Rebecca nodded. "Daniel believed people are defined by the choices they make when no one is giving them instructions." Noah folded the letter carefully. "What happened to my father?" Rebecca hesitated. "He left the foundation 3 years ago and disappeared from public work. He wanted you to have a normal life." Noah looked down. "He never told me any of this." "Because he believed ignorance would keep you safe." Ethan looked toward the window. But Victor kept searching. Rebecca nodded. And now he knows you have the notebook. Noah understood. The messages, the old photograph, the strange questions at the museum, and Ethan's sudden refusal all led back to the same truth. Someone had been waiting for the notebook to reappear. Ethan stood. We need to decide what happens next. Noah looked at him. You mean I decide? Ethan paused. Yes. Noah smiled faintly. That is different from the man I met in Chicago. Ethan looked at him. I am trying to be different. Rebecca gathered the documents. Your father left one final instruction. She handed Noah a small key. He said that if the notebook ever reached you, there was something waiting for you in Chicago. Noah looked at the key. Where? Rebecca gave him an address. Ethan recognized it immediately. The old foundation office. Noah looked at him. You know the place? Yes. Then we go there. Ethan nodded. Together, they returned to Chicago later that day. The old office was quiet, nearly forgotten behind a row of renovated buildings. Noah used the key on a small storage room. Inside was a wooden box. He opened it and found copies of his father's research, along with documents that could expose Victor's entire operation. There was also one final photograph. Daniel Bennett stood beside a younger Ethan, both looking toward the camera. On the back were 6 words. Some people are worth choosing. Noah looked at Ethan. You chose me. Ethan nodded. I did. Noah closed the box. For the first time, neither of them needed an explanation. Ethan had spent years following orders, accepting missions, and living by rules written by other people. But standing beside Noah, he understood that his most important decision had never been about a contract. It had been about choice. Outside, evening settled over Chicago, and the city lights began to shine across the streets. Ethan looked at Noah and quietly said, For the first time, I do not have a mission. Noah smiled. Then what do you have? Ethan looked toward the open doorway, then back at him. A choice. Together, they walked into the evening, leaving the old life behind and carrying only what they had chosen to protect: the truth, their freedom, and the future waiting ahead.